scares me. Grandpa, are you okay? Grandpa, you're scaring me. Daddy!
Dad, are you okay? Dad. Go get your mom, Amy, get your mom. Yes, 911, listen, I think my dad's having a heart attack. Please send an ambulance as soon as possible, please. Yeah, the address is 5134.
Oh. Where am I? What's going on?
Hello, Mr. Williams. Sorry to tell you that you suffered a devastating heart attack. Your blood pressure was 200/160 when they brought you in. You should be grateful to be alive. Not many folks make it with numbers like that. And if it wasn't for your granddaughter calling for your son, most likely you wouldn't have made it.
I never thought this would happen to me. A week earlier, I'd run a 5K. Looked pretty good for 56 and felt even better. But it wasn't enough. Little did I know there was something dangerous lurking in my blood. A toxic poison that caused a nearly deadly buildup in my arteries, triggering a massive heart attack that almost took my life. This mystery poison has been linked to DNA damage and has been proven to narrow your arteries, leading to potentially deadly cardiac events. Which is why, even if you're taking something to lower your blood pressure, it never gets down to healthy levels. If your blood pressure is higher than 120/80, this toxic poison is to blame, but your doctor won't ever mention it. I'll tell you all about it in a moment, as well as the life-saving reason why you need to address it now. Because according to my doctor, I was one of the lucky ones. He said that my critically high blood pressure could have easily resulted in a lethal heart attack or stroke. Now I was facing a life limited by prescription drugs and dangerous side effects, ranging from severe kidney damage to sexual dysfunction. Yet as terrifying and hopeless as everything seemed, a lengthy conversation with a medical school dropout revealed a simple 7-second fix that detoxed my blood, opened up my arteries, and lowered my blood pressure for good. A natural solution that allowed me to fight back against the poison in my blood, opening up my constricted arteries, restoring healthy blood flow, and bringing me back to 120/80. I'm so glad I'm able to share all of this with you today. This simple, safe, and completely natural 7-second blood pressure fix will completely change your life. It's something you can do every day to open up your blood vessels and release the pressure in your arteries. It's helped me and over 17,543 other moms, dads, grandmothers, and grandfathers who were once plagued by high blood pressure to finally take control of our health and, more importantly, live a life free from depending on others, free from medical visits, hospital trips, daily worry, and so much more. And to be clear, it's simple, works no matter how old you are, and even if you've had high blood pressure for years. It works if you're currently taking medication, following a special diet, and even if you're overweight. And it can absolutely work even if you've already had a heart attack, like me. Yet nobody is talking about it, and most doctors don't know about it. Stay with me, and I'll show you how this newly discovered fix holds the key to eliminating the toxic poison that's constricting your veins, vessels, and the arteries around your heart and brain. Don't just take my word for it. Donna D. says my blood pressure had gotten high and I didn't want to go back on blood pressure medication with all the harmful side effects. So I tried this, and it's working for me and has helped me lower my blood pressure. I'm so thankful I found this. Asher M. had this to say: I've had high blood pressure since I was 24 or 25. I'm 50 now, and for the last year or two, my doctor has needed to tweak my medication because it's not controlled my pressure. I started this yesterday, and this is the best my pressure has been in years. And Erica says, I was borderline hypertensive, yet within 2 weeks, my blood pressure was down to almost normal. Amazing, right? And to think, it all started when I suffered a heart attack in my own backyard. By the way, my name's Jerry. I'm 56 years old and a family man. I eat a healthy, balanced diet, jog several times a week, and was never supposed to be the guy who had a near-fatal heart attack in his early 50s. Yet my high blood pressure proved to be exactly what top scientists from Harvard and the Johns Hopkins Institute call the silent killer. It had just turned 3:30 p.m. at my granddaughter's 12th birthday party. Everyone was eating barbecue, drinking, having a good time. But I began to feel tension in my left arm and shoulder, and a few minutes later, I dropped to my knees as my chest compressed like a vice, sucking the air right out of my lungs, causing the most excruciating pain of my entire life. As a fit and healthy 56-year-old, nobody ever expected this to happen to me. Because although I'm not a scientist or doctor, I've worked in the health supplement industry for 22 years, doing a variety of jobs including nutrient research, quality control, and product distribution. Prior to my heart attack, I was in such good shape for my age that friends and family members often came to me for health advice. I felt so embarrassed and ashamed when those same people now reached out to me about my heart attack. Every letter, balloon, and bouquet of flowers felt like a reminder to all the people I'd let down. During those moments, I often wished the heart attack had just taken me so I wouldn't have to deal with what comes next. The whole thing totally shattered the illusion that I and so many of my friends had that I was a fit and super healthy 56-year-old. Worse still, it reminded me of my father's untimely death, aged just 59. I'd promised myself and my wife that I wouldn't suffer the same fate. So I'd committed to living a healthy lifestyle and felt confident that I'd live well into my 90s, maybe even break 100. But my heart attack proved me wrong. Lying in the hospital bed, I wasn't even sure if I'd make it to the same age as my father. Things didn't get much better after I got out of the hospital. The doctors put me on a cocktail of drugs for my blood pressure and cardiovascular health that left me with a laundry list of nasty side effects. Luckily, I did have something to look forward to. My wife and I had our dream vacation booked to Japan. We'd been waiting to visit for over 20 years, but we'd never had the money or the time. Yet now, with the kids grown up and out of the house, and me making more money than I ever had before, the trip to Japan finally became a reality. We booked the trip 6 months before my heart attack and couldn't have been happier. Yet now, just a day before we were due to fly to Tokyo, I was feeling sick and weak, and I had my doubts about going. The long 14-hour flight was filling me with dread. I was on a cocktail of blood pressure drugs that were making me anxious, tired, and dizzy. Despite eating nothing but heart-healthy foods, every time I ate, I felt sick as a dog. And the really crazy thing was that even though I was feeling tired and hungry all the time, I was actually gaining weight. So all the clothes I was planning on wearing in Japan didn't fit me. Nothing was going well. Most of the time, I found myself just wanting to rest or sleep. I knew I had to go because even though I was feeling down in the dumps, I couldn't let my wife down. After all, she'd had her heart set on going to Japan for nearly 20 years, and I knew she'd be heartbroken if we canceled. So I went to my doctor to see if he could give me some different medications that'd make the trip more bearable. However, when I was on the flight, one of the diuretics my doctor had prescribed made me feel like I needed to pee constantly. I was getting up every 5 or 10 minutes to visit the bathroom on the plane, which was bad enough until we hit turbulence and had to buckle up and stay seated for nearly an hour. After 45 minutes, I had to pee so bad. I put a blanket over my lap and tried to pee into a bottle. I ended up covered in my own urine. It was a nightmare. As soon as the turbulence passed, I hurried to the toilet, hoping anyone who saw the wet patch on my crotch would think it was just water. I'd never felt so embarrassed or ashamed my entire life. When we landed in Tokyo, having been to the bathroom over 30 times during the flight, I felt tired, miserable, and emotionally drained. Yet once we collected our bags and got a taxi to our hotel, I felt hopeful that the worst of this trip was over and we could start enjoying our dream vacation. We spent the next 2 days walking around Tokyo, seeing the sights, but my hope soon turned to despair as I realized I'd become an awful travel partner for my wife. I was dizzy, my body was aching, I constantly needed to pee, and my wife's patience was starting to run out because every time she suggested visiting one of our bucket list destinations, I had to say no. My chest felt tight, and I was feeling so rough, I was worried I might faint or collapse. On Thursday morning, we decided to move away from the busy, congested center of Tokyo and venture out into the beautiful, peaceful countryside, where maybe I'd feel more relaxed and actually enjoy myself and be fun for my wife to be around. And although it wasn't what I was expecting, this trip out into the Japanese countryside ended up being the reason why I'm now healthier than I've ever been and no longer have to worry about my blood pressure. You see, what I accidentally discovered in one particular Japanese village has helped over 17,543 men and women from all over the world to lower their blood pressure to 120/80, safely and naturally, without the need for expensive drugs that cause horrible side effects. The 3-hour train ride from Tokyo to Chichibu wasn't much fun and left me feeling tired and nauseous. My wife suggested we find a local healer who could help me. By this point, I could sense my wife's growing impatience, and I was in no position to argue. Even though I was skeptical, I was in such bad shape, I figured I had to give it a try. The village we were in was quite small, so it didn't take us long to find the healer. It was nothing like going to see a doctor in the States. The building was wooden, old, and decrepit. The pathway to the main entrance was nothing but dirt and overgrown weeds, grass, and shrubs. And while somewhat charming in appearance, it didn't fill me with confidence. It lacked the professionalism and cleanliness you'd expect when you visit the smallest of doctor's offices back home. However, once inside, it was quite surprising. Exceptionally clean and tidy, organized, yet still traditional and somewhat alternative. And as soon as I walked through the door, I was immediately greeted by a slim, elderly healer who introduced himself as Kenzo and reminded me of Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid movies. Kenzo was definitely in his 60s. It also looked healthy and happy and moved with a youth and energy that made him seem 25 years younger. Despite something of a language barrier, I was able to explain to him that I'd suffered a massive heart attack just over 3 months ago. My blood pressure was still high, and I was struggling with the many side effects of the meds the doctor had me on.
OH, no, 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 no. Don't take that American poison. Here, eat this. You feel better. Make heart strong.
Kenzo handed me a bowl of disgusting-looking beans that literally looked like someone with a really bad cold had sneezed all over them. As disgusting as it looked, I wish I could tell you that it smelled better, but it didn't. It smelled like someone left a bucket of ammonia out in the hot midday sun and then dumped a high school varsity football team's sweaty gym socks into it. The thought of eating it made me nauseous, but given how I was feeling, Kenzo's persistence as he kept shoving the bowl in my direction, and the look on my wife's face as she encouraged me to eat it, I felt like I had no choice. And while I hoped the smell would be the worst part, once I started eating it, I gagged and retched on every hideous mouthful. But out of sheer desperation, I choked it down. Kenzo found the whole thing highly amusing and handed me a cup of Japanese herbal tea to take the taste away.
Good. Come back tomorrow.
Ever since I'd been on medication, I don't think a day had gone by when I hadn't experienced a severe headache and cold hands and feet. Sometimes my heart would race, pound, or flutter, and I'd panic, thinking I was having another heart attack. I was a nervous wreck, and all this despite taking the medications my doctor had recommended. However, the day after forcing down my first revolting bowl of beans from Kenzo, I woke up and was pleasantly surprised to find that I was feeling better. As the day progressed, I didn't have a headache. My hands and feet felt warmer, and by 3 p.m., when I turned up to see Kenzo, I hadn't had any irregular heartbeats. I also realized that I'd forgotten to take my diuretics. Yet since eating the food he gave me yesterday, I hadn't needed them. When I walked in, Kenzo had a big, friendly grin and another bowl of beans ready for me.
Ah, fat did I tell you, sir? Strong heart.
I asked him what exactly I was eating.
Natto, best food for heart.
For the rest of our stay in Japan, I ate a bowl of natto every single day. It tasted worse every time, but I forced it down because I was feeling better and better, and it was allowing my wife and I to enjoy our vacation. When we left Japan, it almost felt like I'd been reborn, healthy, strong, and whole. But on the plane ride home, I started getting anxious, as it dawned on me that getting the same quality of natto as I had in Japan was going to be difficult, if not impossible, in the States. As soon as I got home, I raced to the local specialty Asian food stores, asking around for natto. The first 2 stores didn't have any that resembled what I ate in Japan. But in the third store, as I crouched down to check out the different versions of natto on the shelves, a tall, thin young man wearing glasses and an ill-fitting white polo shirt tapped me on the shoulder and said,
"Sorry to interrupt, but do you have heart issues?"
I was both shocked and surprised. Normally, if a random stranger asked me such a personal question, I'd have told him to get out of here. But this guy seemed harmless, and he was right. So I was curious as to what he had to say next.
I know this is super weird, but I'm a medical researcher, and if you're getting natto to help with your blood pressure, then you're on a good path. In fact, that's why I'm here as well.
I asked how he knew about natto, and I told him the entire story about my trip to Japan and the amazing effects that I felt from eating natto while I was there.
That's great. Hey, if you have some time, I'd love to talk to you more about this. If you want to grab coffee?
My interest was piqued. Somebody else knew about this disgusting bean-like substance, and it seemed he knew a lot more than me. If I'd known how eye-opening the following conversation with my new friend would be, I wouldn't have hesitated when he suggested we sit down and get coffee. But before I share the life-changing facts Ryan told me, that's given me consistently healthy 120/80 blood pressure every single day, you need to know a little more about him. Turns out, Ryan had originally been a medical student, but he dropped out once he learned how corrupt Big Pharma is and how little good they actually do. He didn't want to be part of the highly profitable multi-billion-dollar industry that makes money selling people drugs that often don't work and usually cause a ton of nasty side effects. After all, his original reason for getting into medicine was to help people. That was his mission. Once he discovered that Big Pharma doesn't really help people the way they should, he quit his degree in medicine and set off on a path to start finding real solutions to health problems, so that he could actually help people get well, instead of keeping them sick and paying for endless drugs and surgeries. The conversation I shared with Ryan over coffee was the most interesting I'd had in years. He explained why natto is so powerful and how it was lowering my blood pressure and improving my cardiac health, how it mainly comes down to the active ingredient in natto called nattokinase. But before I can explain what nattokinase does when you consume it, I need you to understand why you get high blood pressure in the first place. Ryan pulled out his laptop, went online, and showed me recent scientific studies from Harvard, Stanford, and other leading universities that proved that what millions of Americans thought was the true cause of high blood pressure actually wasn't.
For the past 40 years or so, you've been told by doctors and other health experts that high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease are caused by eating animal foods that contain high cholesterol. Foods like eggs, butter, cheese, bacon, steak, and so on. However, the most modern science has proven that there's almost no connection between the amount of cholesterol you eat and the amount in your blood. For instance, research has shown that people with anorexia, who are so skinny they're wasting away, have higher blood cholesterol than almost anyone. In fact, our ancestors used to eat large amounts of high cholesterol foods, yet didn't have high blood pressure.
This really resonated with me. For years, my wife had forced me to eat what I thought was a heart-healthy diet, including lots of low-fat, low-cholesterol foods, a ton of boring vegetables and tasteless salads. Yet, here I was, several months after a heart attack, still suffering with high blood pressure, despite my wife preparing low-fat, low-cholesterol meals for me and religiously taking the medications my doctor recommended. I felt terrible due to the side effects, and I still wasn't healthy. Clearly, something else was going on. Here's the science Ryan shared with me that blew my mind. It turns out that over time, simply by living a modern Western lifestyle, we're constantly exposed to toxic poisons. These toxic poisons are in the air we breathe, from cars, buses, airplanes, trains, factories, and even environmental disasters like the 2023 train crash in Ohio. There are toxic poisons in what we eat and drink, particularly processed foods and drinks, and fast food, full of trans fats, GMOs, refined salt, artificial sweeteners, preservatives, and so on. And even toxic poisons in many of the things that are supposed to make us and the environments we live in look and feel better, such as cosmetics, household cleaning products, air fresheners. Well, the list goes on. Now, your doctor will tell you that if you're healthy, your body can handle all that stuff. But what if it builds up more and more and ends up being too much? What if the organs that are meant to process and filter these poisons, like your liver and kidneys, get overwhelmed and overloaded? Well, Ryan told me that in that case, a lot of this toxic load from modern Western life ends up in your blood. As the years go by, this toxicity can get so high, it actually becomes corrosive and irritates your arteries, almost like a chemical burn happening inside your body. Now, when you get a burn on your skin, you might apply an aloe vera balm to soothe the irritation. Interestingly, your body does something similar to soothe the irritation that's going on inside your arteries and protect it from being more irritated. And while this might shock you, proven research by scientists at Harvard, Stanford, and other top universities shows that the substance your body uses to soothe and protect your irritated arteries is actually the thing your doctor tells you you need to get rid of to avoid a heart attack: arterial plaque. I was shocked by this, but Ryan assured me that the most up-to-date scientific research shows that your body uses arterial plaque as a protective barrier between the irritating toxicity in your blood and the delicate walls of your arteries. And while it is a factor in increasing blood pressure, which I'll explain more about in a minute, it's not the main cause. I felt like I'd been hit by a train. as the truth began to set in. For decades, I'd followed the mainstream advice on how to have a healthy heart. I jogged 4 or 5 times a week. I ate heart-healthy foods. I watched my stress. Yet I nearly died in my 50s because of a heart attack. Feeling angry, betrayed by the medical establishment, I asked Ryan, what's the major cause of high blood pressure, heart attacks, and strokes?
Arterial plaque forms a protective barrier between toxicity in your blood and the walls of your arteries. However, the downside to this buildup of plaque is that it's happening inside your arteries, making them narrower. So when it builds up over the years, it leads to higher blood pressure.
But for most people, it's still not the number one cause of major cardiac events like the heart attack I suffered in front of my granddaughter. The number one cause is actually something called fibrin. And what happens when fibrin builds up in your blood? For many folks over 50, toxicity in their blood gets so high that it becomes corrosive, meaning that small open wounds called microtears start appearing in your arteries. These microtears in your arteries are similar to the open wounds some people get in their digestive system, called ulcers, just a lot smaller. At this point, your body has to do something to patch the microtears. Otherwise, you'd suffer internal bleeding that could be deadly. Your body uses a substance called fibrin to patch up the microtears, just like if you'd cut your finger and applied a Band-Aid. However, there's a huge problem. While a buildup of arterial plaque certainly can lead to cardiovascular problems, and I'll explain exactly how in just a minute, the bigger problem is something Ryan calls overclotting. The substance your body uses to patch up microtears in your arteries, fibrin, is essential in normal doses in our blood. However, due to all the toxicity in the environment, the fibrin levels in most people's blood has risen to levels that are no longer safe, causing many people to suffer from overclotting. And if these clots get big enough, they can block your arteries, stopping the flow of blood, resulting in a major cardiac event. Imagine water flowing through your garden hose. Now imagine putting a giant kink in it. The water immediately stops. If you get a big enough clot in your arteries, the same thing happens. Blood flow stops, and then you have a huge problem, a heart attack or stroke. This is exactly what happened to me, and it's exactly what happens to millions of other heart attack victims in America every year. The toxicity in my blood got sky high. Arterial plaque built up to deal with the irritation it caused, and eventually microtears started to appear in my arteries. Then my body used fibrin to patch over the microtears. However, it went on too long, and the fibrin built up too much, causing a near-deadly clot and massive heart attack. What this means is that even if you eat a typical heart-healthy diet like I did, you still stand the chance of having a heart attack or stroke. Worse still, the modern Western lifestyle and environment ensures high levels of toxicity in our blood, and Big Pharma doesn't address it in their treatment plans or medications. Now, knowing this, I needed to know how to reduce the fibrin and clotting that was going on inside my arteries. If I didn't address it, my heart would literally be a ticking time bomb. And I'd spend the rest of my days a nervous wreck living in fear of another heart attack, one I wouldn't survive.
I know you might be worried about fibrin because it could cause you to suffer another heart attack. But in an ideal world, you'd simply detox your blood, normalizing your blood pressure. The problem is, that's difficult to do because these toxins are so common in our everyday lives. Jerry, this actually brings us back to how we met. A conversation about that disgusting food you ate in Japan, natto. See, natto is a major factor in Japan, having the lowest heart attack rate of any Western country. The key nutrient in natto, the one that helps to optimize your blood pressure and keep your cardiovascular system healthy, is an enzyme called nattokinase. The amazing thing about nattokinase is that not only does it safely and naturally do what most regular medications aim to do, reduce arterial plaque and increase vasodilation expanding your arteries. Most importantly, nattokinase breaks down the fibrin that causes excessive clotting, which is usually what causes heart attacks and strokes. The way your arteries get clogged up with toxicity is kind of like what happens when dirt and grime builds up in the fuel injection system of your car, which it inevitably does with modern fuel. If that happens, eventually your car engine won't run, right? Well, it's the same with your heart. It stops working effectively and eventually stops completely if your arteries get too blocked. But now imagine using a fuel cleaner to keep your car engine running for longer. It's cheap, easy maintenance to enhance the lifespan of your engine. Nattokinase works in a similar way, keeping your arteries clear and your blood flowing freely, so your heart lasts longer.
I felt so reassured by the thought that nattokinase was all I needed to reduce the fibrin and clotting in my arteries. But my relief didn't last long, because Ryan told me that nattokinase wasn't enough to keep my blood pressure at 120/80 and my heart healthy for years to come.
Even though fibrin and clotting are the most likely things to cause a major cardiac event, plaque is still an issue we need to address because too much of it narrows your arteries and contributes towards high blood pressure, which can lead to a major cardiac event and many other health problems too.
Ryan revealed to me that there was actually more than one magic ingredient in the natto which had helped me so much. We all know how hard plaque is to get off our teeth, and that's why we have to clean them every day and see a dentist regularly. Unfortunately, it's not as easy to clean plaque out of your arteries, yet it's even more important. But here's the thing. Natto, the disgusting food the healer gave me in Japan, is very high in vitamin K2. Getting enough vitamin K2 is essential for reducing plaque because it removes calcium, the hardest part of the plaque. Normally, we think of calcium as being a healthy nutrient, and it is when it's in your teeth and bones. However, when it builds up in your arteries, it increases plaque and causes you to have higher blood pressure. This leads us nicely into why it's so important to have enough vitamin K2. See, if you have enough vitamin K2, it pulls excess calcium out of your arteries and puts it into your bones and teeth. However, most people are deficient in vitamin K2 because it's difficult to get enough from food alone. And to make matters worse, modern blood pressure medications fail to do anything to address the excessive calcium in your blood. The good news is that natto has higher levels of vitamin K2 than any other food in the world. Between nattokinase and vitamin K2, I felt like my high blood pressure and cardiovascular issues were finally going to be a thing of the past. I could see a future filled with adventures with my granddaughter. But then Ryan asked me a question.
Did the Japanese healer give you anything else?
He did. He gave me a tea blend with a weird-sounding Japanese name. Even though I couldn't remember the name of the tea, Ryan knew exactly what I was talking about. A traditional blend of 3 herbs that all lower blood pressure very effectively, but in a different way to nattokinase. See, the reason why your body keeps building up plaque in your arteries is because they're irritated, they're inflamed. So, as well as reducing the plaque, you have to reduce the inflammation. Also, as your arteries become irritated, they constrict or tighten, increasing pressure. So it turns out that the blend Dr. Kenzo gave me consisted of green tea, hibiscus, and hawthorn leaf. 3 herbs that have been used to lower blood pressure and prevent heart attacks for centuries, allowing your arteries to relax and expand. He later sent me a folder full of studies proving these herbs have been used for this purpose for thousands of years, and had literally tens of thousands of studies showing how safe and effective they are. In summary, getting my blood pressure back down to 120/80 and ensuring I no longer had to live in fear of a heart attack was a simple 3-step process. Step 1, reduce overclotting. Use nattokinase to reduce fibrin in your blood to stop excess clotting, a big cause of high blood pressure and the main cause of serious cardiac events. Step 2, clean out your arteries. Use vitamin K2 to remove excess calcium from your blood, ensuring you don't have too much arterial plaque, which can narrow your arteries and increase blood pressure. Step 3, reduce inflammation and dilate your arteries. Use green tea, hibiscus, garlic, and Hawthorne to improve overall cardiovascular health, because they've been shown to reduce the irritation in your inflamed arteries and expand them through vasodilation. The next thing I needed to know was the precise way to prepare the ingredients to bring my blood pressure back down to 120/80. The obvious thing to do would be go to Google and buy all the blood pressure lowering ingredients Ryan told me about. However, as a supplement manufacturing expert, I knew that the ingredient quality and strength would be wrong, and it'd be really expensive. I needed a way to be able to take all the ingredients in correct strength and quantity in a convenient and affordable way each day. If I bought ingredients that weren't strong enough, or if I took the wrong amounts, I ran the risk of seeing my blood pressure stay exactly where it was, too high. Fortunately, our CFO was so intrigued by my visit to Japan and my meetings with Dr. Kenzo, he agreed to buy ingredients for a small batch and have them mixed for several of us at the company to test. A week later, the ingredients arrived and we began testing, 1 capsule a day. Before the first capsule, my blood pressure was high, 143/90. Yet within 24 hours of taking the first capsule, I was feeling as good as I had in Japan, eating natto with Dr. Kenzo. My hands and feet felt warmer. I didn't feel sick or nauseous. I was more energized. I took my blood pressure a few hours after the second capsule, and it was now 133/86, heading in the right direction. Each day I kept seeing improvements, 131/85, 128/83, and finally, after 10 days, 120/79. After my blood pressure got down to 120/79, it stayed there, give or take a couple points, every day. I felt good enough to go out jogging again. 3 weeks later, after jogging 3 to 5 miles a few days a week, I actually felt good enough to think about training for a half marathon, something I thought I'd never be able to do. The other test subjects are having similar effects. Todd worked in our warehouse. He's your typical American male, 50 pounds overweight, likes his football, loves pizza, red meat, and beer. Before taking Ryan's formula, Todd's blood pressure was never below 155/110. Within 3 weeks, it was back down to 125/84. Todd found himself wanting to exercise, something he'd not done in years. And sure enough, the pounds started falling off his waist. Patty is our head of customer service and our baked good queen. Loves her cakes, cookies, and brownies. Not a fan of exercise. Overweight and struggling with her blood pressure. In fact, Patty had been on blood pressure meds for years, and doctors had, at times, described her blood pressure as extremely dangerous. The good news, Patty had a fantastic result with Ryan's formula. Her blood pressure got down to 120/83 for the first time in nearly a decade. Patty now has the energy to take a walk every day at lunchtime. She's feeling fitter, healthier, and happier than she has in years. Finally, I'd like to tell you about William, our CFO. Extremely hardworking, takes great care of his family. However, William's health had taken a back seat to his career. Over the years, his waistline had ballooned alongside his blood pressure. The formulation took a little longer to kick in for William. 3 days after he started taking it, nothing had changed. But then on the 4th day, everything changed. His blood pressure improved remarkably. Within a month, he was down to 120/77 and taking daily walks. His doctor was amazed. William was convinced.
We have to start producing this formula, no matter the cost. My wife won't let me stop taking it. The results are too good.
I'm delighted to be able to tell you all about this powerful formula. The only natural blood pressure formula specifically designed to eliminate the root cause of high blood pressure, deadly toxic poisons in your blood, CardioShield. So far, everyone that I've shared this formula with swears by it. Word is spreading fast and for good reason. None of the solutions out there come anywhere close to addressing the real cause of high blood pressure, which is why so many blood pressure formulas and treatments simply don't work. But when folks use CardioShield, they get results. Like John C. He says, I've always struggled with high blood pressure. I've been on atenolol 25 every day. I decided to try this product after reading all the reviews, and I'm glad I did. I only take 1 capsule a day and have found a great difference in my BP readings. My BP used to be 150 over 90, always, and now it's consistent about 120 over 80. This product works. I highly recommend it. And Mary R., she says it lowered my BP within a few hours, from around 165 over 90 to 122 over 76. The following morning, BP was 120 over 77. I will never take a prescription for BP due to all the complications. So nice to find this great product. Finally, Jennifer W. had this to say. I was skeptical initially. However, after reading the reviews, I knew I had to try this. Myself and my husband lost our medical insurance, and it's been a struggle. I recently went in for some family planning services, only to be turned away. My blood pressure was 180 over 123. I was in disbelief, came home and began constantly taking my blood pressure. It was high, but not as high as I was told it was. I was consistently 160 over 108. My husband was even higher. After 3 days of taking these pills, my blood pressure went way down. I can say I'm a believer, and that I will keep taking this over prescription meds. Now you can join them. Imagine finally breaking free from a life limited by high blood pressure. A life free of medication, regular doctor visits, cardiologist appointments, and prescription copays. A life free from side effects like extreme fatigue, dizziness, and body aches. A life free from the constant worry in the back of your mind that any set of stairs, any kind of physical exertion, or even a loud noise or surprise could burst your heart like a needle popping a balloon. You have the ability to take back control over your health and your future with CardioShield. Look, if you have high blood pressure, then your health is at risk. It's that simple. And frankly, you owe it to yourself and to those who love you to at least give CardioShield a try. Because study after study shows that there's a direct link between high levels of toxic poisons in your blood and high blood pressure, leading to heart attacks, aneurysms, and strokes. Yet it doesn't have to be this way, because with each dose of CardioShield, you hold the key to free-flowing, healthy blood pressure. Now at this point, you're probably asking how you can get your hands on a bottle of CardioShield, along with how often you need to take it for the best results. To be honest, I wish it was easier for folks to gain access to this breakthrough, because my goal in making this video and in creating CardioShield was to make it possible for every American currently at risk to regain the confidence and peace of mind that comes from having healthy blood pressure. If you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond, this message is even more timely, because that's when the levels of toxic poisons in your blood really begin to climb, ultimately reaching critical levels and pushing your blood pressure sky high. So high that at any moment you could end up like I did, clutching your chest, gasping for air, on your knees, praying for the pain to stop. I never want you to go through this. Now, even though my goal is to help as many Americans as I can to address the deadly toxic poisons that are causing your blood pressure worries, the truth is that because every single bottle of CardioShield needs to be produced in a fully accredited, state-of-the-art GMP certified facility, then kept fresh through a special encapsulation process, which only a handful of manufacturing facilities in the world are capable of, it's a time-consuming and meticulous process to produce each bottle. Because CardioShield is packed with proven blood pressure-lowering ingredients, pretty much everyone who tries CardioShield keeps asking for more, because they never again want to feel the stress and worry of walking around with a ticking time bomb, feeling constantly at risk of a heart attack or stroke. In fact, word is even spread throughout the healthcare community, making CardioShield extremely popular, which couldn't be more exciting. But it's put a huge strain on our production, especially since it takes up to 6 months or more to custom create each batch. We often sell out, and I frequently don't have any CardioShield available for the public. That being said, I also don't want anyone tossing and turning at night, worrying that this silent killer is going to come for them next. That's why in the next few moments, I'll show you how you can get your hands on your very own supply of CardioShield at a price anyone can afford. I'll also show you how you can try it risk-free today. It's all part of our new Save the Hearts of America campaign. But first, let me answer that other question. How much CardioShield do you need to take? One easy-to-swallow capsule twice a day for at least 30 days. Here's the reason why it's important that you take CardioShield for at least 30 days. Although the ingredients inside CardioShield that provide the antidote to the toxic poisons in your blood go to work pretty much immediately, many clinical studies have shown that our exposure to these toxic poisons is ongoing in our daily lives. And the longer and more consistently you take CardioShield, the healthier your blood pressure will be. So while some of the ingredients go to work in as little as a few hours, other ingredients don't reach their peak effectiveness for weeks or even months. That's not to say that those ingredients won't help your blood pressure on day one. They will. It just means that the longer you keep taking CardioShield, the more power you'll have against the toxic poisons that are currently constricting your blood vessels. Plus, as the levels of these nutrients in your system builds, the lower your blood pressure goes, the more relaxed your blood vessels become, and the less your heart has to work overtime. Unlike many of the blood pressure drugs out there that can cost thousands of dollars per month, CardioShield costs just a few pennies a day. More on that in a second. I recommend that you choose at least 3 bottles of CardioShield today, or 6 bottles if you want to be protected long term. The moment you secure your order, you get to join thousands of folks across the U.S. who were once worried that each day could be their last. Folks who are now calling CardioShield a lifesaver. Today, this is your opportunity to join them. Now, you should know that CardioShield is only available on this website, while there are supplies in stock, and while I'm able to keep this webpage up. After all, we fully anticipate some sort of resistance from the powers that be once they become aware of this video. Because they're not going to be very happy to hear that a little guy like me is tapping into their $140 billion cash cow. That's not even taking into consideration the doctors who make a very good living performing bypass surgery and putting in stents. They've been able to buy luxury cars, second and even third homes, and go on all sorts of exotic vacations thanks to your high blood pressure. With CardioShield, though, they may be forced to go on fewer vacations each year, buy less luxury cars, and not spend countless thousands on expensive pieces of jewelry. Which is why they'd love to take this letter off the web as fast as they can. So, if you're here right now and there are bottles of CardioShield in stock, it's vital that you act now and grab yours while you still can. If you delay by even a couple of hours, you could return to this webpage and find an error message because we sold out. So please, say yes to this opportunity right now. Because after all, using CardioShield will make you feel like you've gone back in time to when you were younger and had healthy blood pressure and open, free-flowing arteries. A time before all the negative damage caused by years of stress and the buildup of toxic poisons in your blood. Plus, every day that you take your dose of CardioShield is another day of living with peace of mind. Because you'll know for certain that you're doing everything in your power to keep your blood pressure low and your heart healthy. And when you consider that CardioShield really can do all of this for you, you can probably understand why the board of directors at my company wanted me to set the price of this breakthrough formula at $149 per bottle, which, even though we'll ask for a lot less, would be extremely fair. In fact, heart disease is the #1 killer in the U.S., killing 1 American every 33 seconds. That's 695,000 every year. Even if you're lucky enough to survive a heart attack or stroke, the financial hit can be just as devastating, often amounting to tens of thousands of dollars, even with the best insurance plans. And God forbid you require long-term care. The cost can easily quadruple. Oftentimes, this leaves people wishing they'd actually have died after a heart attack or stroke, instead of becoming a physical or financial burden to everyone around them. With that being said, I know we could easily charge $149 for a bottle of CardioShield, and I'd still sleep soundly at night. But this isn't about making a buck for me. It's about being grateful that I was given a second chance and an opportunity to make a difference. When I collapsed in front of my granddaughter and felt that crushing weight sitting on my chest, my life flashed before my eyes. And while in that moment I was technically the victim, the real victim was my granddaughter, who had to watch as her strong, larger-than-life grandpa suddenly became as helpless as a baby. I can't imagine what that would have done to her had I not made it. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. You don't have to go through a near-death experience like I did. All of which is why, if you decide to take action right now and say yes to the powerful blood pressure fix that is CardioShield, you won't need to spend $149 for a bottle, or even $99. Instead, by taking action today, you can order CardioShield for just $59 per bottle. And that's just the beginning. Because so many studies are showing that the longer you take the ingredients inside CardioShield, the more you can benefit from them. And because so many people have been ordering multiple bottles of CardioShield at a time so they can share them with their family and friends, my team and I have created an even deeper discount for you today. Right now, when you stock up on 6 bottles of CardioShield, then instead of paying $59 per bottle, it's just $39, saving you $20 per bottle and $120 in total. You also get free shipping. Look below the video right now and choose how many bottles of CardioShield you'd like. The 6-bottle package means you're getting a full 6-month supply of CardioShield, plus the biggest savings. And no matter whether you choose the most popular 6-bottle package or if you decide to start with 3 bottles, or even 1 bottle, you'll still be making a decision today that is 100% risk-free. Because your CardioShield order comes with my full 180-day, 100% money-back guarantee. It works like this. Right now, simply click on one of the packages you see below. Once you do that, you'll be taken to my 100% secure and encrypted checkout page, where you'll simply enter your shipping and billing details, then confirm your order. Your supply of CardioShield will be shipped right to your front door from our US-based warehouse, and you'll receive it in approximately 3 to 5 business days. Once your bottles of CardioShield arrive, I want you to tear open that box, grab your first bottle, and start using CardioShield every day. When you do, I'm confident you'll feel an amazing difference. After you've had a chance to take it for a few months, you'll never want to be without it. You'll never want to go another day without this blood pressure breakthrough. But if for any reason I'm wrong and you aren't head over heels in love with your experience using CardioShield, then you don't pay a dime. Instead, all you have to do is call or email my friendly US-based customer service team. They'll arrange for you to send back your bottles, opened or unopened, empty or full. And then, once we've received the bottles, we'll refund your entire investment with no questions asked. Look, you've seen all the science and all the studies showing that deadly toxic poisons in your arteries are the primary cause of high blood pressure. You've seen how the key to healthy blood pressure is a simple 3-step process. Step 1. Reduce overclotting. Use nattokinase to reduce fibrin in your blood to stop excess clotting, a big cause of high blood pressure and the main cause of serious cardiac events. Step 2. Clean out your arteries. Use vitamin K2 to remove excess calcium from your blood, ensuring you don't have too much arterial plaque, which can narrow your arteries and increase blood pressure. Step 3. Reduce inflammation and dilate your arteries. Use green tea, hibiscus, garlic, and hawthorn to improve overall cardiovascular health, because they've been shown to reduce the irritation in your inflamed arteries and expand them through vasodilation. With CardioShield, you get the exact ingredients that perform those 3 steps. giving you the peace of mind that you won't become one of the 695,000 Americans who will die from heart disease this year. And yet, even with that being the case, you still get a full 180 days to decide if CardioShield is right for you. So go ahead and click on one of the packages you see below right now and place your order for CardioShield while there are still bottles in stock. And while it's true that you can't ignore everything you've heard here today, including the incredible studies showing that the ingredients in CardioShield can rid your body of excessive toxic poisons in your blood while promoting healthy blood pressure and keeping your heart safe, it's ultimately up to you. If that's what you decide to do, I fully support you. In fact, I pray that you stay healthy and out of harm's way. I'll be worried for you though, because I know all too well that if you don't do something about your high blood pressure, whether it's CardioShield or something else, then nothing is going to change. Just imagine it's 3 months from now, and you're lying wide awake in your bed, your heart pounding, your mind racing, worried about what would happen to those you love most if you were no longer around. What would happen if your heart, your blood vessels, or your brain suddenly became the victim of your out-of-control blood pressure? When you had the chance to claim your very own supply of CardioShield at huge savings, while there were still bottles in stock, would you feel a little bit of regret that you didn't try this amazing breakthrough risk-free today? If the answer is even a maybe, then you owe it to yourself and your family to make the smarter, easier choice, which is to say yes to CardioShield right now. Go ahead and click on one of the packages below and claim your very own supply of this healthy blood pressure breakthrough while it's still available to the public and there are bottles in stock. Your decision today is covered by a full 180-day, 100% money-back guarantee. So you truly have nothing to lose and an entirely new lease on life to gain. Ultimately, the decision is yours, but I trust you'll make the same choice that countless thousands of American men and women have made on this very webpage and continue to make every day. The choice to take control and get your blood pressure under control once and for all. Seriously, this is it. It's time to make the decision. Either you continue to live in fear that at any moment your heart could explode, or you start living life on your own terms again with CardioShield. I wish you the best, and I hope you make the right decision to get your blood pressure under control. I'm Jerry Williams. Thank you for watching today. I wish you all the best. Still there? In that case, let me go over some frequently asked questions that people ask about CardioShield. Question 1. What are the toxic poisons in my blood, and how do they affect my blood pressure? Due to environmental factors such as processed foods, industrial pollution, and even many household cleaning products and beauty products, everyone alive today has toxins in their blood. Over time, these toxins can build up to a point where they irritate and inflame your arteries. This can lead to a buildup of excessive arterial plaque, and also a substance called fibrin that can lead to overclotting in your arteries. The end result? High blood pressure and the potential for deadly cardiac events. Question 2. What's inside of CardioShield that makes it work so well? CardioShield contains a variety of nutrients, including nattokinase, vitamin K2, green tea extract, and more, proven to remove excessive arterial plaque and fibrin from your arteries, allowing your blood pressure to get back down to 120/80, reducing your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Question 3. What makes CardioShield different from other blood pressure supplements? CardioShield was specially formulated to address the primary cause of high blood pressure, toxic poisons in your arteries that lead to excessive arterial plaque, buildup of fibrin, and the threat of overclotting, which can be deadly. It does this by using the highest quality extracts from powerful plants like hawthorn, olive leaf, green tea, and garlic, as well as cutting-edge ingredients such as nattokinase. They've all been shown to help support healthy blood pressure and protect your blood vessels from damage. Question 4. What benefits can I expect from CardioShield? The biggest benefit that people experience is a significant drop in their blood pressure, an improvement in circulation, and better heart health. At the same time, people report having better energy, more confidence, and a more positive outlook on life. Many folks find that once they've used CardioShield, they become a lot more active again, and often lose weight that they hadn't been able to budge in years. Others get back to doing things they previously didn't have the energy or health to do, such as hiking, going on vacations, and sharing intimate moments with their partners. Question 5. Is it safe? Yes. All of the ingredients in CardioShield have been shown to be safe in clinical trials, and we haven't received any reports of negative side effects from people using CardioShield. However, since every person is different, it's important to consult your doctor when trying any new supplement and monitor how you feel after the first couple days of taking it. Question 6. How does the guarantee work again? You have a full 180 days to try CardioShield, and if for any reason, or no reason at all, you're not happy, just contact our support team. Their details will be on your receipt, which will be emailed to you immediately after your payment has been accepted. They'll arrange for you to return your bottles, used or unused, empty or full. Once we have received the bottles back, we will issue a full refund. No questions asked. Question 7. How can I order today? It couldn't be more simple. Just choose the package that's right for you below. You'll be taken to a secure order page to enter your details. Once you have, we'll start prepping your order for you right away. Remember, you're protected by our 100% satisfaction guarantee for a full 180 days from your order date. There are no hidden fees, subscriptions, or autopays. I can't wait to hear your blood pressure success story. Choose how many bottles you want